It's a paranoid day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day for debunking. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? No masters, no gods in the neighborhood. A wonderful day for resistance. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? My comrade. I have always wanted a neighbor just like you to do all the things revolutionaries do. So, unlocking the truth on this wonderful day, since we're together, might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? My comrade. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? My comrade. How's it going, folks? This is H. Will, aka Mr. Williams here, welcoming you to another episode of Mr. Williams Neighborhood. Just want to bring you outside, folks, to our little hideaway area here, folks. And you see what we're trying to do. Also, folks, just so you know, the scented geraniums here. You work that around, scented geraniums. You work this around, kind of get that scent going, kind of get that thing going around. It usually keeps. That's usually a natural way to keep the mosquitoes away from you while you're outside. But just in case, we have our little tiki torches just to make absolutely sure that we're all good. And again, folks, what you hear out there is the neighborhood at large. We have our neighborhood inside of here, and we have our thoughts, our agreements, our voluntary tenets and beliefs. I just thought I'd let you go ahead and take a look on the outside, see what we have here, folks, enjoying this beautiful day. And I wanted to come here in the early afternoon, to start the Monday off right. Hopefully things have been going well for you this morning. If you're in the afternoon, hopefully, we can move along together and make things a little better. So, all right, folks. While we're here now, let's just get into, once again, folks, be on the lookout as I'm going to be working towards my Make Anarchy Great Again hat. I'm pretty sure, even though I'm not a real big hat person these days, I definitely feel like it's something that I should definitely support. So definitely be on the lookout for that. I also want to get into some other information if we could. Okay. So I wanted to be able to deal with a few other issues connected in the anarchy if I could, but there's only one way to do that. So let's just get into it, shall we? Okay. Hey. Wow. Okay. Well, it doesn't seem like there's much in the way of politics right now that we can speak about this in a that we can speak about we can speak about in a more anarchist tone. So I guess I will just deal with the state at large. Once again, but once again, let's just see the dictionary's word real quick of what anarchy is: a state of disorder. A state of disorder due to absence or non-recognition of authority. He must ensure public order in a country threatened with anarchy, lawlessness, absence of government, nihilism, mobocracy. These are what are considered synonyms when I put in anarchy as far as the Google: insurrection, riot, rebellion, mutiny, disorder, disorganization, misrule, chaos, tumult, turmoil, mayhem, pandemonium. Okay, so now very quickly, while we're here, because I don't think I've really ever done this, so I think this will be fun. So now we go to Wikipedia. When anarchy refers to a society, entity, or a group of people or a single person that rejects hierarchy. The word originally meant leaderlessness, but Pierre Joseph Proudhon adopted the term in his 1840 treatise, What is Property, to refer to anarchism, a new political philosophy which advocates stateless societies based on voluntary associations. So please understand that, and I also like to, I think that as I've connected more and more, this is Mr. Williams' neighborhood, but sometimes I try to say is an anarchist homage. Sometimes I forget to bring a little more of the anarchy. Now I was having more of just fun with it, but I'm still going to have fun, but bring a little bit more of the anarchy and just really try to spread that a little bit. So with that said, so voluntary association has always been a part or a hallmark of anarchy because because it's not free will if someone is forcing you to be a part of it. So again, voluntarism, anarcho this, anarcho that, although again, free will is supporting those people's right to sort of splinter off and have this specific anarchist group that they feel like focuses on a certain thing that they feel like may not be focused on enough. Fair enough. But I still say that as a traditional black but I would say as a traditional black bloc anarchist, I support all of that because common ground, equality, and solidarity is about all of that. It's about saying, hey, transsexual person, though I might, having an opinion or a disagreement about someone's lifestyle does not mean that they don't have a right to have that lifestyle. you know, and what about somebody who, again, folks, it's simple. People always ask those dumb questions about, well, what about a person who likes to have sex with kids? That's hurting a kid. That kid, what I'm saying? That kid, that 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old kid does not have the maturity when we're talking about sex and sexual situations, to make that kind of informed decision on something that would be really, really complicated. So what you're essentially doing is that you're oppressing your views onto someone else, and that is hurtful. That infringes on someone else's rights and their pursuits, even a young kid. And so, yes, there's no way I could be for that. Because molesting someone, raping someone, things like that, that hurts someone. That infringes on someone's rights. that infringes on that person, on that woman's right to be able to walk down the street and feel safe and secure, that she will not be taken advantage of. For someone to say, I have the freedom to do this, no, you have the freedom of your pursuits as long as it does not hurt or infringe on someone else's freedoms. When you rape someone, you make someone feel safe. You make them feel, in a sense, imprisoned. They can only go out in the daytime, you know what I'm saying, where it's really public and a lot of people are around. They can only go in places, they can only make sure they go in places where they won't be isolated. And, you know what I'm saying, even for a few seconds. It becomes a strategy of trying to make themselves safe when they should feel safe, when there should be no threat that should be accepted that says, hey, you go out here at night, there's going to be someone out here to rape you. You just have to accept that's the way it is. No, they shouldn't have to accept that that's the way it is. And anarchy is about giving that woman the right that if you come and and bother her, she has the right to fuck you up. Whether it's pepper spray, whether it's a nice, you know what I'm saying, a nice, strong, long blade, sharp one that she tries to stick right in your genitals. I don't give a fuck. It would be awesome to have that done. Now, this is Mr. Williams' Neighborhood, and we're trying to be a little gentler, a little bit more in the homage of that, but I'm also an anarchist, folks. And, much like I'm pretty sure Mr. Rogers was, he was definitely a proponent and a person who respects all people and a gentleman, and was definitely a gentleman and a protector of women. Not that we only feel like women need our protection, but they do need us as allies. And I am whatever way that I can be an ally. And if it's not protection, if it's there to be by your side as someone fighting alongside of you, not just for you, then fine. That works for me too. So, but real quick, in practical terms, anarchy can refer to the curtailment or abolition of traditional forms of government and institutions. It can also designate a nation or anywhere on earth that is inhabited, that has no system of government or central rule. Anarchy is primarily advocated by individual anarchists whose who propose replacing government with voluntary institutions. Okay, well, we'll just save because it's very much I think this might be an interesting way to go. That while I do want to provide more of the info, like and having a little bit more fun with it. I mean, after all, this is uh-oh. I think I may have been screwed. Okay. Not a problem though. Not a problem. But we still want to have fun with it. So just in case. By the way, folks, I highly recommend Tropical Smoothie Cafe. It is awesome. Well, okay, let me go back here. So let's start here. Let's see if we can get it up. Yay! Let's go. I want to tell you about anarchism. I want to tell you about anarchism because I think that it is well that you should know all about it. I want to tell you about anarchism because everything that you have heard about it is wrong. Hmm. I want to tell you about anarchism because I believe anarchism is the finest and neatest thing that has ever been invented. But some of us do believe, though, that anarchism isn't a thing to invent. Freedom, the ability to think for yourself and know what things are best for you, to do unto others as you would have them doing you. If you don't want people to brutalize you, then you wouldn't want to brutalize other people. I think it's a simple I think it's a simple thing, but I think it's something that's natural, that comes from inside. But you can see how it could be considered a convention. I mean, an invention. Excuse me. I want to tell you about anarchism because anarchism is the only thing that can give you liberty and well-being and bring peace and joy to the world. Okay, so what the heck is anarchy anyway? They might say. The word anarchy comes from the Greek, meaning without. So from the Greek "and," meaning without, and archo. Let me see if we can get in. And archos, meaning leader or ruler. And the Greek prefix archy, while not the documented root of the word anarchy, means master or chief. In any case, anarchy literally means without leaders, without rulers, without masters. Applying the concept of no masters to your life can take shape in an infinite number of ways. Truly can, especially when it comes to modern times. And not everyone will agree on how to go about it. Can you be an anarchist and submit to the will of God? Can you be an anarchist and own property? Can you be an anarchist and pay taxes to a nation state? Can you be an anarchist and be a proponent of civilization and technology advancements? Can you be an anarchist and raise well-adjusted children? Yes, you can. But you can also be a well-meaning statist and still not raise well-adjusted children. It's all about, again, the individual. Not everyone is going to move the same way and react the same way to the same things, to the same stressors. They're not going to see a certain environment the same way. It's just, a person with their own brain, although they have, 1/3 components of each parent, they still have a component of themselves that completes them. So I'm not going to answer those questions, both for the sake of liberty, both for the sake of brevity, and so I don't rile even more anarchists than I already have. But some anarchists have taken sides and formed various versions of anarchy based on answers to the questions above, thereby creating anarchy isms. You know what I'm saying? Anarchisms. Okay. These anarchisms have commonly held beliefs and doctrines, and it follows that some anarchisms may be the complete opposite of other anarchisms. Luckily, this isn't a book about anarchism. I don't know or care enough about all the different branches of anarchism just yet. This is a book about anarchy, living a life without masters. So the following pages are full of examples of applying anarchy to your life in various ways. Undoubtedly, not all anarchists will condone or even like this book, and not everyone will even like the way I've just defined anarchy. That's okay. Hopefully, there will soon be many ABCs of anarchy books on the market so we can once and for all rid the world of negative connotations of that beautiful word anarchy. Lastly, and if you think so, it is a beautiful word. Lastly, even though I sought out input from many people, anarchists and non-anarchists, experts and novices, friends and foes, and even though I've been working on this book for the past 2 years, I am still seeing things I want to change. I would love to turn C into class war, G into gentrification, and the U into utopia, for example. I also want to change the Y page to a word that better exemplifies anarchy, and perhaps rewrite all of the text, or have a real writer take a stab at it. I should also probably rewrite this little introduction too. I hope you can forgive such glaring omissions, and please contact me with all of your questions, comments, and concerns. Okay, so we go to the word A. Well, let's just go simple. A is anarchy. The word anarchy literally means without rulers, without leaders, or without masters. Any definition more or less than that is a matter of personal opinion. Smart, effective. You might apply anarchy to your life in a way that is completely different from anyone else. What masters do you have in your life? What would a world without masters be like? Believe it or not, folks, I wrote an article some time ago that spoke on anarchy and the history of it, in a way that really let people know that anarchy was at a point working within politics. See, when you had the Republic way back, the Republic allowed you to have representation for yourself, for a certain group of people that had common interests, common goals, common aspirations that they wanted seen to. They would elect certain people that would represent them in government to make sure those things happen. Now, that's where you have the long standing, that's where you have that classic quote, no taxation without representation, which means if there's no one in government, in politics, that represents me and what my interests are, then you have no right to tax me, because I'm not getting what I need, and yet you're taking money from me, and yet where would that money go? Will it continue to go to other things and not what will benefit me the most? So that's where that comes from. And then in the Republic, you had a lot of representation that had the ability to, to work, to work in the move and to operate without fear. And one of those entities was anarchists. In America, and especially in Europe, you had a lot of anarchists that were working within government to try to represent those people who felt that way, who wanted a limited amount of government injecting into their lives. They wanted to be more self-sufficient and more, not so much separated, but just being able to handle things on their own and not have the government constantly embedded into their lives. And in turn, they won't constantly seek out the government for help in the things that they're moving towards. It's a very, very mature deal. And so with democracy, because see, back in the day when you had a republic, there were no Republicans and Democrats when you had a republic. It was just a republic. Everybody was represented. And so you had, it wasn't Democrats and Republicans and independents, and you had people who wanted less government. You had people who wanted government to help more in people's everyday lives and make sure that they accounted for what they needed. So you had people who wanted to make sure that certain things were done, certain funds were put aside, certain programs were put together to make sure that people were assisted as needed. You had people who wanted to make sure that children were taken care of, or things like that, and that life was made a little bit easier on them. Just giving you some broad examples of what interests were being represented as far as government went in the Republic. And there were no Democrats and Republicans. As a matter of fact, of course, as people will tell you, that when, I guess, Democrats started to take shape, they were more of the bad guys back then. They were more of the bad guys. They were the guys who really wanted slavery to continue, and really wanted things just as they were before the Civil War happened. So there you have that. And then the shift happens, and all of a sudden, somehow, during the Civil War and everything in the aftermath, I'm saying, preceding that, you have all of a sudden, we have all of a sudden, excuse me, we have all of a sudden Democrats have become the good guys, and Republicans have now emerged, have started to emerge, and they're the bad guys. They're the, they're the friend of the rich guy all of a sudden. Um, and the Democrats are, are friends of the poor, the downtrodden, the minorities who have been mistreated and things like that. I mean, yes, the irony is not lost that the political party that essentially wanted to keep that essentially wanted to keep, a race of people in bondage and in servitude are essentially now being looked at as the saviors of these people. Really weird, but that's why we have it right now, and that's why this whole situation of having two representatives in a state and things of this nature, it doesn't make as much sense as it did way back. Wow, we have these congressmen, these representatives, and these senators, and everything like that. Why do we have all these people? Because at one point, all these people actually served a real purpose, and it was to represent, different people, in certain sections at different levels. They were able to represent them. Now you don't have that. Now you have the same, base, the same, I guess the same mob base, the same agitated base, the same lobbyists and money, what I'm saying? And basically, and money barons that are sitting here controlling every level. And that wasn't the way it was supposed to be in the actual republic. But just real quick, let's see. I'm certainly glad. And real quick before I go there, but then so let's get to those questions. What masters do you have in your life? I know for myself, one of the main masters that I of course had in my life were parents and grandparents and things like that. You had to believe you had to trust them implicitly. You had to bend to their authority. There was very little you can do as a kid to step outside of that authority, without putting yourself in a precarious situation, or in a dangerous situation with even those parents. So yeah, coming up, but my mother, luckily, was, was definitely awesome in spans. She had her problems. In fact, let's be specific, folks. She had drug problems. That definitely took up a few years, but there was a lot of years more than that she was just awesome. Times that I would skip school and go grocery shopping with her, helping her out because she always knew that she could trust me. I could, my grades were fine. I was doing well in school. She knew that I was always a great help to her, a great contributor, whenever we hung out. So that was always the way every month when it was time to make groceries. It's like, I get to stay home from school. Let's go hang out. Maybe we would do something, get something to eat or something like that also. It would just be fun. Go and get the groceries, take them back to the house, help her get everything loaded back into the refrigerator and the freezer and everything like that. And it would just be fun. I get to hang out the rest of the day, just relax. Just awesome times. Skipping school at certain points, going to movies and things like that. It was a balance of my mom showed me early on that if I showed her the maturity and trust and maintain the trust that I was starting to build up, that I would be able to have a lot more fun and given a lot more leeway and given a lot more respect, as an individual. And it absolutely happened. My mom was very big on school and getting an education and things like that. So, and also about being a good person, a good citizen. So if those things were a problem, when I was coming up in preschool and elementary school and things like that, that wouldn't have been her thing. I wouldn't have been skipping school. I wouldn't have been going with her to make groceries. She'd have did it herself, and I'd have been in school making sure that I was doing the right thing. You know, when my mom had drug problems that I know she could have did without. She was definitely an avid weed smoker. And if I remember correctly, I think still might be. But either way, if she decided to shade that a little bit, but that was one of the things, debate how you want. We all know what the truth is, that marijuana is a corporately, illegal situation. It's illegal by corporate government, so that's my opinion. But, it's just, I guess, like I said, my mom was just really, just like I said, just really awesome that way. And, you know, I definitely learned a lot from watching her and experiencing a lot of the things that I experienced being raised by her. I realized also by the places that I've grown up that we never destroyed the environments, the people that I've known throughout my life, friends, family, you know, I, crack, cocaine, heroin, alcohol. Those are the things. Those are the things that have wrecked people's lives. I've seen it time and time again. Friends of mine living in the same apartment complex. You go sleep over their house, go sleep over their apartment, hang out with them overnight. They're living in complete squalor. Like you just wouldn't believe. I couldn't believe it was the same apartment. Like this is the same exact apartment that I have. And it just looks completely different. It was just, it can make you cringe. It make you feel insecure about staying the night over there. And I got to be honest with you. I got up in the morning, time to have breakfast. I did not want to have breakfast, folks. I imagine being a kid and not wanting to have a bowl of cereal because you were that insecure about about the cleanliness of anything. That is what real drugs have done to communities, and marijuana, in my experience, has never done that. And I think in some ways, my mom taught me that along with other people. I was taught that lesson. And so, while my mom, I guess you could consider her my initial master, but she was definitely a person that showed me that if I could earn my way into individuality, into more freedom, into more, respect at, as a person, as someone who was coming up, as a young person becoming an adult, it was a great thing. So she wasn't so much of a master, but of course, a parent being a parent, there was some master type situations that were going on, that just make you feel like, oh, friends are hanging out. She wants to, call me in there to go and do some chore because that makes her feel like, I run them, I run this, I make them do what I say, So there were those times, and I mean, you have to deal with that. And, you try to, be respectful, but also, stand up for yourself in certain ways. You start making, and if understand that you seek more of a freedom than even, I mean, because I mean, eventually it evolved to a point where I was able to, I had my own phone line, I was able to have females in the house as I was helping to pay my, pay a part of the phone bill with my own phone line and help paying the rent and everything like that as I was working. So I was given a little bit more leniency and having female company around. But I was still, under a rule of, my mother, she's a woman. She doesn't want me to be, sort of this guy who's like a player, who's got two and three girls and who's getting girls to get me things, buy me things, give me money and things like that. Though I understood that and I never sought that out, and so because out of respect for my mom, I always respected that and never wanted to be a gigolo, as she would put it. I still felt like at this point I had been in a relationship for a long time, with someone, you know, you know, a daughter happened as a result of that. And, you just have to, I was single at that point. I wanted to be single in the way that I wanted to be single. So you realize that you got to move on. And that while, overall your mom was awesome, you definitely didn't feel like it was an awful situation. I enjoyed my life. I enjoyed my time. I especially enjoyed my time in high school. I went to all my dances, stay after school, competed, was in after school clubs, organizations, just enjoyed myself immensely. Had a girlfriend pretty much every year that I was in high school, and they were relationships and things like that. I wasn't just with different girls random and hooking up. Once I got out on my own, I got my own apartment, I was able to do that for a little bit before I met the woman that I would ultimately marry and start a family with. So, and then throughout that time, I guess my masters would be the state in a way. You're a young man trying to grow up, you're trying to figure out who you are and things like that. You're 18, 19 years old, and I'm out there on my own, my first apartment. I'm just trying to figure things out. I think I tried to work the best with, maintaining out of the state's, clutches by just, by just trying to stay under the radar, just live my life and do what I needed to do. But of course, you need a job. Can't be under the table. There's taxes to pay. It's hard to be able to work that situation, but you always find different ways to maneuver around. Let's just say you start figuring out, you start learning the ropes, your ropes, not the ropes. You start to start learning your ropes, your lane, where you're moving towards, and figure that out for yourself. So while the state could be considered, like I said, a master of sorts, it's more of a situation. It's more of a situation where if you allow, yikes, okay, that if you allow the state to be your master, that if you allow the state to be your master, you allow the state to be, well, let's just see real quick. Well, no, that still just will not do. Okay, so anyway, but let's just see. Oops, do apologize. Do apologize for the delay. I was trying to see if that would have made it better, but no problem. But like I was saying, if you allow the state to be embedded in your life, then it will feel like they rule over you. But being youthful and making mistakes, that's a part of being youthful. Can't be, as much as you would like to, can't be helped. I had a situation when I was younger. Had a situation when I was younger that I got into a collision because much like they say in Hot Fuzz, and I agree with that an accident implies that there's no one to blame. In that collision that I had, there was definitely someone to blame in that situation, folks. And that was me. I was not supposed to be driving. at all, as I had no license. I had no license to speak of and no learner's permit. And so, but being under the temptation, and yeah, I could sit here and argue that I tried to say no, but ultimately, one of those times I said yes. And I made the mistake of driving, and I really didn't know what I was doing at that point. It was all my fault. It was all my fault. I did it to myself, and I ended up crashing into a family, a minivan, crashing, broadsiding their minivan. It was awful. It was a, it was definitely a shameful situation. It was definitely a shameful situation that I regret because I can only, and the thing that makes me feel okay about the situation was that the family itself was okay. That there was no, excuse me there. Oops, I apologize, folks. Okay, we're trying to get the extension cord, but that seems to be tough going right now. Let's see, where did I put those? Folks, you need to always try to keep extension cords around if you can, but just do the best you can to keep track of them. Sometimes they can get away from you. I don't know why anybody else would make that missing, but we're going to have to do something because we're going to run out of juice soon. And we must do what we must do. Okay. So, but back to the story. As I was saying, the only thing that makes me feel better about that situation was that the family was okay. Because I don't know if I could have lived with myself if I seriously hurt a family because of my irresponsibility. That just wouldn't have been okay. And it kind of brings an interesting point of, masters versus non-masters. Having a world without masters, even in a world without masters, would you want people to be unskilled and uncertified to do certain things? You don't have to know if I can drive. I'm just going to go ahead and drive, and, I'll make my mistakes and we'll figure that out. You know, we'll figure that out at some point. Maybe I'll get good at it. Maybe I'll just kind of keep rolling around here and hoping that I won't, seriously hurt somebody or kill them. I don't think so. That's where voluntary. And give me a second here, folks. As a matter of fact, wow. Let me take a moment and let's see if we can. Let's do a music break here. Satellite of Love. Welcome back, folks. And that again was Satellite of Love. So, thank you. And just a recap, a small recap. We were bringing, I want to say that we were wrapping up on the question of, at least I was answering the question for myself. Because I think that's, the only logical thing to do here. Instead of just asking the question, why not simply, maybe when we have more live chatters that will come up and chat me up, maybe we can start to figure out, what masters other people may have. Let's see. Oh, watching a little TV here, folks. It gets interesting. But so I was answering my question. So that's kind of been my simple situation now. I haven't had a whole lot of masters, beyond that point. I've had mentors, a lot of people that I felt like were a great bit of influence on me throughout my life and very positive. They never made me feel like, made me feel beaten down. My mother never made me feel beaten down. And there were times that she definitely flexed a muscle and that she was the authority, that she was in charge. And I mean, she was taking care of me. So there were certain concessions that had to be made. I mean, it's just, it's hard. But once you become a teenager, you're starting to try to work and you earn your money. You're still being responsible. There's not a whole lot going on. Yes, I'll admit that. I made some mistakes. I've done some things. Okay. But I've always maintained my mom's trust when it came to the certain movies that I was allowed to watch and things like that from the places that I was allowed to go at a certain age that other kids probably wouldn't have been able to have that kind of trust with. Well, before I was a teenager, I had a certain trust to go places that other kids just, other parents would just be that are clutched them tight. But my mom always knew she could trust me. That the thing that I wanted to do is what I wanted to do. That it wasn't, I'm going to tell you I want to do this and then completely lie to you and go to do something else because you know, I've always felt like my mom had my back and that my mom supported me being me and that she was always about me. So it was just, it was definitely just a great situation to be a part of. I always, but with the state, that's different. Didn't do, so didn't do the whole food stamp thing. Didn't do the whole, individually. I need you to give me this, give me that, give me, when you have a family, you're young. Once I started to have a family and I was young, we were trying to figure things out. But being this color, it basically gives you a lot of, disadvantages, and it's a shame. But so did we have to rely? We had kids to take care of. Did we get that? So that food assistance. Did we get WIC? Yes. Okay, we did that. But eventually in life, you progress. You start to rely on yourself. You're a self starter. You're trying to progress. In a way that just doesn't keep you in the same position that a lot of other people that find themselves in. And when that happens, the state is like, well, you don't need this then. You make too much money to get stamps, to get food assistance, to get WIC, so and then you kind of set out there on your own to handle your own business. So, but at least, yes, we require the state because we're forced to pay taxes. So yes, we require you to take care of our kids. When they get sick, we require you to take care of them. That's the only thing we ask of you. We shouldn't have to ask you. We shouldn't have to feel some sort of shame or a stigma and wanting that for our kids at the very least. Because as taxpayers, as people who work and pay taxes to you forced year after year, you owe us that. So please know that, folks. Please know if you seek nothing, if you want nothing else from the government, make sure the government takes care of your damn kids. Make sure the government, takes, when they get sick, when they get hurt, that they can go to any hospital and be taken care of, no problem. They owe you that. They're making you pay taxes under the threat of property theft, imprisonment. They owe you that. You have to understand the world that you're living in. You can go and try to escape someplace else, but then what are you doing? What are you doing as an anarchist? You're now forcing your family, forcing your kids to live in a way that they shouldn't have to live. Anarchists, as well as anybody else, push this world along to the advances that they have, that we enjoy today. Why should we now separate ourselves and not enjoy those things? Why should our kids be subject to archaic things, when they get sick, when they get hurt, when they should be able to avail themselves of the same thing? We just should not have government embedded in our lives. That's all we're asking for. We should not have to live in an archaic way. We should be able to be modern anarchists that do not want government intruding in their lives on a constant basis, but yet feel that that if I'm willing to concede paying taxes, although overall I'm being forced. If I concede to paying taxes, there's certain things that I'm going to require of you. No taxation without representation. You have to understand that. So, but let's see here. So a world without masters. Interesting question too. What will that mean? Well, What that would mean is that the people would have to be trusted in themselves to be smart enough to handle their own problems, work towards their own solutions and resolutions in situations. That's what anarchy should be, supposed to be. We should be smart enough to run our own lives and know what's best for our own lives without people telling us what's best for our own lives, because no one knows what's best for you than you. Who else can really tell you what's best for your own life? Come on. So, which brings me back to where I believe myself and the author agree. I'm not going to attack them. I'm not going to call them out by name and do all that type of thing, because it's not about that. I support you. I support your facets. I support the facets of anarchism. I am a black bloc anarchist, but I support all facets of anarchism that have evolved, because again, solidarity, equality, solidarity, common ground, and equality dictate that I do so. You have a fair shake as me. So if you want to have this anarcho-communism, okay. I support your freedom to do that. As long as you don't infringe on anybody else, I support your freedom to do so. So B is for Black Bloc. Black Bloc is a group of people dressed in black to represent either mass solidarity for a cause or mass resistance to oppression. For what cause would you gather your friends together in a black bloc? How can joining together in a black bloc help anything? Well, let me just try to answer those. What cause? Causes have been, the march, the march against corruption, the Million Mask March, for Anonymous when they march against Monsanto. Those were things that, you can be in black in solidarity. Greece in solidarity for Killer P being murdered, for those people who were protesting the tyrannical rule of Golden Dawn, being in black in protest to that and in solidarity for that. All of the black males and females that have been killed in America, in police custody. So those are the things that I feel like are great causes to gather in a black bloc about. Absolutely. There are always, other and new things. And sometimes, folks, now here's the thing. Sometimes while we would like, oh, okay. While we would certainly like to keep, a more natural way to go when it comes to these insects, sometimes they slip in, folks, and you got to do what you got to do. But let's see. The other question. How can joining together in a black bloc help anything? It helps because it shows those in power, those who want to leverage control over you, that we're organizing, we're agreeing, and it's not always about the race, folks. Notice it's not about a race. Gather together. Who can gather together? Anyone can gather together. And just look at this. Hopefully you can see it. But if you can see it, you can see that there is at least somewhat of a representation where you might see where it looks like different people that are in this group here. But just in case, I'll make it clear. Black, African American, whatever you call yourself, stolen Africans, true Africans, Asians, Latinos, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Guatemalan, doesn't matter. All Asians, Japanese, whatever, Chinese, Korean, Filipino, does not matter. Europeans, does not matter. If you believe that we can exist intelligently as intelligent people in a world without a ruler, and that we can agree to work together towards common goals, then you're welcome. We could all gather together to show people we're organizing, we're uniting, we're getting past those petty differences, those petty things that made us not like each other and hurt each other and even kill each other at times. We're getting past that and we're working towards a real goal, a real resolution. We're going to start fighting the real enemy. And it'll start bringing a fear in their heart that if they don't do something, if they don't do something to change, what's happening, that, that will change what's happening. And so that's how it helps, folks. What you do, gathering together, bouncing ideas off each other, deciding what to do next. What can we do to keep affecting the situation? It's not just a march. It's not just showing people on camera. It's not just showing people. It's getting on. It's getting on the internet, spreading the word around, getting more people involved, getting more issues involved. This is what this becomes. And I guess this is kind of a way, I kind of enjoyed this show. It got flowing. It started off kind of slow because I wasn't sure where to go because I kind of like to go, right off the top of the head sometimes, not be always pre-prepared. So it kind of started off kind of slow, but as it got flowing, I kind of knew where I was going with this. To start off the week. Usually people look at Monday as the start of the week. So, with this being Monday, and why not start you off by kind of starting people off with what at the beginning of what anarchy is. Just giving you that start, giving you that. But folks, we're going to work on different. I'm going to give DIY recommendations also, like collecting rain and purifying it for your own purified water, folks. It can be done. You go out there and you buy a water filtration system and you collect rain and you filter that water out. You can start collecting tons and tons of water that'll be there for you. Do what you got to do, folks. If you don't trust the water that you're drinking from the tap, if you don't trust or like the people that's bottling water for you to, for you to drink, and you want to work out a way yourself, that's one way of going, folks. Not sure about the vegetables, not sure if they're GMO, not sure if they're pesticides that might kill you. Grow your own stuff, folks. Carve out some space, dig some dirt up, get that soil going, start digging and start planting, start growing, and start eating and harvesting and eating your own vegetables. Got to get it done, folks. There's a ton of do-it-yourself things out there that I'm glad to suggest to you, while I'm doing these shows. And I do apologize for taking so long to get back to these things. I'm going to keep up. I do have an appointment to keep, the Cooper Matrix. Got to keep that going, folks. Got to keep that moving. So we're going to make sure that we do that and make sure that we bring you some more of the ABCs of anarchy. I think now that I'm gaining a little bit more attention here, I think this will be a perfect time to, really reintroduce the ABCs of anarchy along with all the other content that I'll be trying to bring to this show. Hopefully we can start bringing even some more characters in, but we'll work on that. And it's been about an hour, folks, and duty calls and work calls, and be nice. Be nice, folks. And in case I didn't say it before, which I'm pretty sure that I did not, you got to get to a certain DVD here. Where are you? There we go. And just to say, because I didn't say in the beginning, but you know what? No time like the present. This show was inspired, brought to you, not exactly brought to you, but inspired, done with respect, and sparked by the ever great Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, Mr. Rogers himself, of course, Mr. Fred Rogers, and of course, a great insight to Mr. Rogers and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and Won't You Be My Neighbor? Just a complete look into the genius that was this show. And that was Mr. Fred Rogers himself. Again, certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, 4 stars by the Washington Post. Folks, if you haven't seen this, please check it right on out. This is my inspiration. This is partly what inspires this show itself. So thank you very much. And I guess we got to start doing what we're doing here. So let's go. It's a great feeling to know you're alive. It's a great feeling, a fire growing inside. The truth wakes you up and makes you say, I will fight against the tyranny today. It's a great feeling, a great, great feeling that I'll be back when the day is new. I'll have more info to share with you. You'll have conspiracies you'll want to figure out. And I will too. Well, folks, it's time to go out there and enjoy that great, great day and that great, great life in this great, great world. In this wonderful world. Keep debunking. Keep being suspicious. Question everything. But still, folks, smile, enjoy, dance. Because if you can't dance to it, folks, it's not your revolution. And it's not a great revolution. And that's always, folks, in all shows that I do. Stay woke, stay wary. Have a great day. Good, let's get the arrow right, folks. Sorry. Gotta get the arrow right. Confounded.